So, Terry, coming up on Father's Day right now, let's talk a little bit about men in divorce. And first, I got to lead in by saying it's a little bit counterintuitive to have me talking to you about men in divorce. So, talk a little bit about why you and I talked a bit about earlier about why you're kind of an expert on this.
Yeah, I get that. I get why, people think it should be same gendered. And I actually resisted this myself. I started off with only helping women, but I find that it's actually beneficial to have the other gender, right? You can get another perspective. You can hear another, viewpoint on things, perhaps the other gender's viewpoint. And, very recently, our support group has grown from just a few hundred to 1,200, and we probably get 30 new members a day.
Wow.
So I would say I have a lot of, there's a lot going on with the men's group, and there's a lot.
Now, you run a divorce support group for men.
Yes. Again, at first, I started out with women, and then people said, well, you should help men. And then that was kind of the side gig. And now it's the opposite. The men is overflowing, and, almost all my clients are men, and we're doing a Men Healing from Divorce group program this summer. So yeah, I work a lot with men, and have written a lot of content on helping men and understand kind of what their needs are. And I think they appreciate having that other viewpoint. And I don't pretend that I know what it's like to be a man going through divorce, but I can also offer the feminine side of that as well.
So why do you think, what do you think is different about men's experience with divorce?
I think one of the misconceptions with men is that it's not as hard for them. That I learned very quickly that is totally a myth. I think if anything, because I provide a safe place for men to share their experiences and share their pain, I have been surprised at what they openly share and how the pain that they're going through. I don't think that people understand that the pain of the loss that they suffer is monumental. I think many men can mask it very well at work. Like, we all have those colleagues that go through divorce and they're like, yeah, kind of like it's not a big deal. If you see them behind closed doors, it's a completely different story. So I would say that is a big myth. I think that men go through a lot of pain, and I think the difference too is that they're not able to share. It's not as culturally acceptable to go to work and talk about your divorce. If you're a man, it would be seen as a sign of weakness.
Interesting.
And so I would say that the pain that they go through is significant. And the loss, another difference is probably, again, because of gender stereotypes between men and women, women get the lion's share of, in some cases, of parenting time. And I think the men are at a loss of losing time with their kids, and they desperately want parenting time with their children.
Now, that's an interesting topic, and I know there's a lot out there about that piece of it. Do you think that most men want to be involved? Like, we're coming up on Father's Day. What do you see generally in trends with men getting divorced and the parenting side, and what they communicate to you and what their wishes are?
Their wishes are to be involved with their children as much as humanly possible. I think the recent pandemic has actually, for some people in the middle of the custody, it's been devastating to men, because some, mothers and partners have utilized the pandemic as an excuse to keep the fathers away. So that was kind of a trend where there was some, how there's been ambiguity with everything going on with everything that's going on legally with courts shutting down. Men didn't have access to their children. So I would see that a lot. Like, I just want to see my kids.
Interesting. What do you think are some of the main challenges? I know you talked a little bit about sort of gender stereotypes. What else do you hear from men when they're entering into this process as big concerns, and what advice would you give?
I think some of the things that I see as a trend are, I call it the nice guy versus the good guy. So the difference between a nice guy and a good guy, a nice guy is very, very open and loving and giving and has a big heart, but doesn't know when to say no and keeps giving and giving and giving and giving. Doesn't have those healthy boundaries. Whereas the good guy is very honest and giving, but also, has good standards, but knows how to say no. And so I see a lot of those nice guys get trampled on in relationships because they don't know how to say no. And they come out of unhealthy relationships where the dynamic is very unbalanced. And so they're leaving relationships. And, and then, of course, because many of them don't heal what needs to be healed, they just go right into the next relationship with a woman who's full of drama, very controlling. Again, they want more and more and more. And because they're a nice guy and they're wanting to please and they want to get that love and validation, so they don't know how to say no. So that's a big area that we talk about a lot. Another big thing, this is kind of related to that, is slowing them down when it comes to jumping back in the dating. Like, that's one of the reasons, so we don't make the same mistakes, so that the men will heal themselves from jumping right back into those drama relationships with women that really are not appropriate. And they need to learn healthy boundaries, how to say no, how to be honest with themselves and honest with others. But also they want to jump right back into another relationship, because for a lot of men, divorce leaves them so lonely. Like, they don't have their kids, they don't have their wife, they've lost their identity as a husband, as a father. So it's very tempting for them to jump right back into a relationship without doing the work on themselves to heal what needed to be healed that got them in the divorce in the first place. So I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just saying, listen, and I'm also, so this is a little interesting. I don't believe in that timeline. Like, it has to be this specific timeline of how many years you're married before you can start dating again, blah, blah, blah. I don't really believe that. I think everyone's different, but I do believe you really have to set some intentional healing work on yourself before you should be jumping into a relationship. Sure. I'm not saying there's a set timeline, but definitely the work that you do on yourself and what you invest in yourself will pay off before jumping into another relationship. I think that men just struggle with the loneliness a lot more than women.
No, I could totally understand that. Now, you talked a lot about support groups, and people have their peer group, and then they have support groups. Talk a little bit about the benefits of a actual support group like you run versus just the guys that hang out with, right? Because I've got friends who've gotten divorced and everybody's supportive, but it's a little bit different, right? It's almost like when somebody's sick, you don't quite know how to deal with it, especially if one of the male friends has a history with both spouses, right? You sort of think yourself like Switzerland versus going to a support group. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think actually for men, their relationships with other men is a vital part of who they are. And those men that have healthy relationships with other men are more healthy. I think if they're in toxic relationships, they've tended to along the way have lost some of those male friendships that they've had. They've lost that along the way. So for some men, they get to reconnect with their peers and reconnect with others. But like you're saying, the difference is sometimes in a male peer group, they kind of go, it's like, how like in sports, shake it off, rub some dirt on it, move on.
Dirt on it, right?
Rub a little dirt on it, you'll be okay. And so for some men in their male peer groups, they become uncomfortable when one of their peers is vulnerable, is discussing, very painful feelings. And in a support group, What makes it a little bit different is that openness. I've provided a very safe place to share, but there's an intentionality there. It's not just, hey, come and bitch and, slam women. And it's not, I'm very intentional about what we're here for. We're here to heal and move forward, share and vent a little bit, but the goal is to get you moving forward. And also, part of the healing process is to get comfortable sharing the pain, sharing your mistakes. And what I love about the men's support group is the encouragement. And they also, one thing I like about them, they call each other out on their bullshit too. I like that. I like that they're going, no, they will call each other out. It's not just a slap on the back kind of a thing. They do encourage, but it is in a brotherly love kind of a thing. They talk to each other the way they talk to their brothers, which is really amazing to be a witness to.
No, that's fantastic. So great information. Again, I thought this was an important thing, and this is our inaugural Split Ready mini chat that we're going to be doing more of, but we're going to be getting this out there for people to listen to going into Father's Day, because I think it's really, really important. So if people wanted to know more about your support groups, what would be a good way to do it? I would love to add some information to the Split Ready calendar out there so people know about it, but what's a great way to get a hold of you to find out more about support groups?
Sure. We are on Facebook, and I'm actually on Meetup too.
Okay.
So you can go to Rise Above, so you hear my accent, Rise Above Divorce. Right. So, because my business is choosing to rise, right? So Rise Above Divorce, there's a men and a women's group.
Okay. And is there a cost, like how do they typically enroll, and what's some of the specifics on that?
No, so our support group is just free. We question, because we're not looking for anybody that's coming in to like slam or, that has an agenda, but we're looking for those men that really want to support, really want to encourage each other, are open and honest, so that there's no cost for joining we do have a free support group, and our meetings and workshops are free. We do have a Men Healing from Divorce group program, which is going to have, a curriculum, intention, and there's going to be a more intense program in the summer, which, there is a cost to that. But our divorce group in general is just free. We invite anyone that's has been through a divorce or thinking about going through divorce. And that's another thing too, Doug. I'd invite any man who's struggling in a marriage, come and join us, because you can see both sides, and it helps you to get a perspective of men who've been in good relationships and lost good relationships, those who've been in toxic relationships and left those relationships, and what life is like during and after divorce. So you can kind of see a whole, what it is that you're getting into.
Well, fantastic. So thank you so much for your time. You're always so involved with what we're trying to do at Split Ready. And, I would encourage anybody listening to the replay of this, if you got any questions, reach out to Terrie. Her information's on our directory, Divorce Strategist, but you're also one of our divorce coaching pros. And thank you very much. Have a fantastic weekend. Everyone out there, thanks so much. And we'll be
happy Father's Day to all the dads.
Thank you so much. And look for a Split Ready or Getting Split Ready. We're back on track in July with a full show, but we'll be out with more Split Ready minis coming out. And if you have any questions about getting Split Ready, go to the website, www.splitready.com. You can take the assessment, figure out how split ready you are. You can get on the platform. There's training, there's templates, there's a lot to get you split ready. So thanks very much.